The COVID-19 pandemic had an impact on mental health as it disrupted people's lives, resulting in typical daily markers of success being absent for many people. Early in the pandemic, some of the main stressors included constant worries about contracting COVID-19 and passing it to loved ones. Additional stressors, such as uncertainty about when the pandemic would end, overwhelming feelings of constant stress, financial loss, and relationship difficulties became prominent worries in people's lives. Focus of this research is cognitive predictors on suicide behavior. These predictors appeared to be especially pertinent during early COVID-19. They included intolerance of uncertainty, repetitive thinking, and mindful attention. The first wave of data was collected in April of 2020, right as the shutdown started. And a second wave of data was collected in November of 2020 with the same participants using the same measures. But with this research and this project, we decided to focus on the first wave as our data reflected the mental health state during the early part of the lockdown. The purpose is to examine relationships between cognitive predictors and mental health variables, including health anxiety, depression, hopelessness, and suicide ideation. We're examining the influence of COVID-19 risk perception on cognitive and mental health variables, and whether cognitive variables moderate the relationship between COVID-19 risk perception and suicidal ideation while controlling for income loss and food insecurity. We had 448 participants, most of them female, recruited through Amazon Mechanical Turk. And like I said, the first wave was collected in April 2020. Second data was collected in November of 2020. Our main findings consist of high levels of anxiety, depression, and suicidal ideation were significantly associated with insomnia, alcohol and substance abuse, hopelessness, lack of social support, income loss, food insecurity, and perceived risk of COVID-19. In addition, greater suicidal ideation was significantly associated with intolerance of uncertainty, repetitive thinking, and mindful attention deficits. While controlling for income loss and food insecurity, regression analyses indicated that participants who have higher tolerance of uncertainty and perceived COVID-19 risk had higher suicidal ideation. Participants who had higher mindful attention and perceived COVID-19 risk had a higher suicidal ideation. And participants who had higher repetitive thinking and perceived COVID-19 risk had higher suicidal ideation. This is the first findings that consist of longitudinal data to examine how this belief interacts with other cognitive variables to create suicide risk. Specifically, these results suggest that individuals who perceived high COVID-19 risk were at an increased risk for experiencing suicidal ideation if they also had difficulty tolerating uncertainty about COVID, consistently thought about COVID, and had difficulty attending to the here and now. The overall findings suggest that the U.S. had undergone mental health crises in response to the pandemic, and these results can be utilized to better understand suicide behavior during the pandemic and how that can apply to future pandemics, and better assist clinicians on learning how to help the population. If you have any questions about the study, you can contact Dr. Joseph Hovey at joseph.hovey@utrgv.edu. Thank you.